There's a type of person who simply disappears. Not dramatically, not making noise, just quietly. And the strangest part? They don't explain. No argument, no "we need to talk," just distance. And that's what unsettles people the most. Because when someone leaves without giving a reason, the human mind fills the silence with stories. They're mad at me. They don't care. But what if the story you're telling yourself isn't the real one? Look, this is where it starts getting uncomfortable. Sometimes the distance has nothing to do with you. It's regulation, emotional regulation. We live in a world that confuses presence with loyalty. If you care, you show up. If you love someone, you stay connected. So when someone pulls away, it feels like rejection. But here's the shift. Some nervous systems don't process stress by arguing or explaining. They process it by retreating. Not because they don't value the relationship, but because their inner world starts getting loud, too loud. And when the inside turns chaotic, the outside grows quieter. That's not cruelty, that's coping. Let's go deeper. People who distance themselves usually have something in common. They think before they speak, they feel before they react. And that means something important. By the time you notice their silence, they've already been overwhelmed for a while. You just didn't see it. Because they don't announce stress, they absorb it. And absorption has a limit. Here's the first real answer. Some people distance themselves because connection feels unpredictable, and unpredictability feels unsafe. Maybe they grew up in environments where closeness came with tension, where affection was inconsistent, so the brain learned a pattern. Closeness equals risk. And when something feels risky, even subconsciously, the body reacts the same way it would to physical danger. It pulls back, not logically, instinctively. That's avoidant attachment. But don't get stuck on the label. Focus on the mechanism. Distance means control. Control means safety. That's the equation running quietly in the background. But it gets more complex. Not everyone who distances themselves fears intimacy. Some fear losing themselves. That's different. There are people who give intensely. They truly listen. They care deeply. And over time, that level of emotional investment becomes draining. They start feeling responsible for other people's emotions. And one day, something shifts internally. Not anger, not resentment, just exhaustion. And instead of exploding, they withdraw. Because withdrawing feels cleaner than confronting. Now here's a question that might hit close. When someone distances themselves from you, do you want the truth or do you want comfort? Because sometimes the real answer isn't dramatic, it's simple. I'm overwhelmed. I don't have the energy. But those answers are vulnerable. And vulnerability is hard for people who learn to survive quietly. So they say nothing. Silence feels safer than explanation. Let's talk about overstimulation. Some people are extremely sensitive to social dynamics. They notice subtle tone shifts, micro-expressions on faces. That constant monitoring is exhausting. Being around others isn't just interaction, it's analysis. And analysis consumes energy. So when they disappear, it's not because they hate people, it's because their brain needs recovery. Solitude for them isn't abandonment, it's recalibration. But when recalibration lasts too long, it turns into isolation. And that's where the risk begins. Now we're entering a part most people don't admit. Sometimes distance is disappointment. Not explosive disappointment, quiet disappointment. They expected reciprocity, emotional depth. When that didn't happen, they adjusted. Not by arguing, but by lowering access. They stop overextending. And if nothing changes, that confirms an old fear. I cared more. So they detach. Not dramatically,
strategically. But here's the paradox. The same person who distances themselves often wants to be understood without having to explain everything. They want someone to notice the shift, to ask gently, without accusing, without pressuring, just asking, and actually meaning it. Because beneath the withdrawal, there's rarely indifference, there's sensitivity. And sensitivity without safety turns into silence. Now shift the focus. If you're the one who tends to distance yourself, pause for a moment. When you pull away, what are you protecting? Your peace? Your ego? Your energy? Be honest. There's a thin line between self-respect and avoidance. And if every relationship eventually starts feeling too much, maybe the pattern isn't only in others. Here's the core truth. People who distance themselves without explaining usually are trying to stabilize something internally. Disappointment, fear of dependency. They don't always have the language for it, so they use space instead. Space becomes the message. Silence becomes regulation. But when space is overused, it becomes separation. And repeated separation becomes loneliness, even if it was self-chosen. Maybe this is the part that shifts everything. Distance isn't always rejection, but it is information. It tells you something changed, something became too heavy, something stopped feeling safe or sustainable. The question isn't why did they leave? The deeper question is, what was happening beneath the surface before they did? Because no one wakes up one day and detaches out of nowhere. Distance is usually the final step of an invisible internal process. So the next time someone pulls away, don't immediately measure your worth by their silence. And if you're the one leaving without explaining, ask yourself something uncomfortable. Am I protecting my peace or avoiding discomfort? Those aren't the same thing. Growth lives in that difference. In the end, people who distance themselves aren't always cold, not always selfish. Often they're introspective, emotionally intense, or deeply self-protective. Sometimes they're healing. Sometimes they're just tired. And sometimes they're hoping someone understands the silence without forcing them to break it. Not every absence is abandonment. And when you understand that, you stop reacting to distance with ego and start responding with awareness. That changes everything.